slides, the Filipino grain consumers, environmental values, perception, and concerns. The original source of this data or this lecture came from a research from a student from De La Salle University, Manila, uh, Department of Biology, College of Science, Glenn Sia Su. The topic of his research is about environmental worldview and concern of college students in the Philippines. The the research of Mr. Glenn Siasu, his respondents are students, college students in the Philippines. He got a sample size of 368. And on the demographics of his respondents, 150 students were male and 218 were female. The ages below 18 years old is 224, greater than equal 18 consists of 144. Majority of the students came from private university, 221, and public, uh, 147 students. So, this is the opinion of the students which were represented as respondents. According to the opinions of the students, 81%, 81.3% that all Filipinos have the right to access to in the use of the environment, and right to access is greater than Filipinos has the right to use, 79.6%. And there were 57.6% that perceive the misuse of the environment resulting to damages. In this slide, you can see that the Filipino public and the Philippine government are statistically tied. No? Meaning to say, they are tied. The Filipino public and the Philippine government express concern to the environment. Their perception is tied according to the students. In the economic sector is 39.9%, almost 40%, express concern to the environment. So, who are those that express concern to the environment? The Filipino public and the Philippine government. Statistically tied and followed by the economic sector. However, the perception of the students, uh, based on the findings of the research, the Filipino public, the government, and the economic sector prioritize environmental risk over economic gain or profit. So, um, those three sectors represent 72.6%. Based on the students' perception, about what type of environmental issues worry the Filipino people, and as well as the government because they are tied statistically. Here, this first left column is arranged according to higher to lowest. You can see that the Filipinos are very much concerned with air pollution, and the last is acid rain, which is 54.96. After the air pollution comes the surface and groundwater pollution, the second concern of the Filipino people. And the third is damage to ozone layer, which represents 72.8%, followed by the fourth is toxic waste disposal. Availability of drinking water comes number 5, and loss of natural habitats is number 6. Global warming is just number 7 according to the Filipino people based on their perception of this, this the perception of the students. And then comes solid waste management, ocean and beach pollution, loss of tropical rainforest, radioactive contamination from nuclear facilities, acid rain. Well, right now, we have a current issue is that we don't have any supply of water in La Mesa Dam, which associates with the input of resources of MWSS. That is why the supply is 1.7 billion, 1.6 billion liters, and the demand is 1.7 billion liters. That's according to MWSS, meaning to say the demand is greater than the supply. The supply is coming from rain, no? So that could be an alarming issue right now experiencing by citizens residing in Mandaluyong and Quezon City. In this slide, according to the students who were respondents of the researcher, here are the top 3 environmental issues. One is water pollution, the second is air pollution, and the third is food safety. That's the perception of the students who were incorporated in the study. In this slide, environment is an important resource that exists for all Earth's species. Uh, the percentage is 29.1%. And environment has deteriorated, polluted, and wasted, and it represents 21.2%. In this slide, the top 3 essential components of the environment. Forest is almost 99%, followed by wildlife. Water and agricultural resources is the third. Current events, we are now facing drought in some provinces in Visayas, Mindanao, and Luzon. Why? Because there's no water being supplied in the irrigation system, and soil is becoming It's cracking because there's no water, there's no rain. So the augmentation of the government is to, you know, uh, spray some chemicals in the sky so that clouds can be formed and have an artificial rain. In this slide, here are the top three functions and services that is being provided by the environment. Number one and two are tied statistically at 84.8%, nutrient and water. These are the services being provided by the environment, the nutrients. And the third is tourism and recreation, which is 79.3%. In this slide, uh, the role of human beings in the environment were also considered. 60.3% perceive good stewardship who will take charge, and 27.4% protect the Earth's important resources. So according to the students, 60.3% we are just, stewards uh, for the Earth's important resources. Success of mankind in sustaining himself depends on how people manage and maximize the environment's resources. So we talk about man's main role. So the highest percentage was about stewardship, and protection was the second ranking. So let's put in mind that we are stewards. Environment resources are limited. We know that, no? Resources are scarce, and that people are in charge, no? The people, stewards of sustaining and maximizing these resources for all the Earth species. That is 28.5%. Environment is a provider that sustains life, and our existence depends on the resources made available by the environment. And one of and it it was true that nutrients and life source are very important. They were tied statistically. In this slide are the perception of the students towards the environment. There were 107 respondents that perceive that the environment is an important resource, followed by 65 students that the environment is the principal provider of life. Number two, interconnectivity. 33 students perceive that toward the environment, and this should be here, no? That the environment is God's gift to us. 35, but that's quite, you know, nobody perceive the beauty of God's creation. That the environment is our hope. 17 students. It's our friend. 4 students. This one is quite 78. this one should be the second here, no? That it perceive that our environment is already deteriorated, polluted, and destroyed. 7, students perceive it's fragile. And wow, 22 students, no perception, dormant. Why? Let's talk about environmental concern. 96.5% express concern with the environment. That's very high. The second is 87%. Filipinos must participate or must involve in programs that will help conserve and sustainably manage the environment. So that's the public and also the government, no? Because that was tied, statistically tied. And the last is 85.3%, which is environmental concern, provide reason to be involved in a variety of environmental efforts or programs. Uh, the perception of the students that the primary reason of participation and involvement is to sustainably improve the environment so that both present and future generations may benefit. So this is the sustainability reason, no, for their participation and involvement. They think of the present and the future generations who will benefit from the environment. So involvement was because of sustainability concern. That's why a lot of Filipinos is going to participate and get involved in this sustainability drive. And the involvement includes reforestation, which is 83.2%, followed by 81.5%, which is involvement pertinent to the improving the quality of the environment. And the last is 78.2% Philippine government by way of enforcing laws, no? And enacting laws, creating, implementing rules and regulations. So the Congress, the Senate should be involved, no? And of course, they are equally statistically tied when it comes to involvement. So we were talking about the involvement and the quality of the environment. So the involvement or activities includes, this is ranked according to uh, highest to lowest. Used of recyclable items, voluntarily recycled newspaper, glass, aluminum, that's part of the recycling, segregation, substitution, avoid buying or using harmful products, cut down on household use of energy because you save kilowatt hour, no, consumption, and that significantly has a corresponding value in terms of carbon footprint emission. Do volunteer work for environmental conservation groups. A lot of groups are now heading to Manila Bay to do their cleanups, cut down on households' use of water. There are many, strategies and techniques on how to conserve water. especially with our water crisis that is being experienced in some part of Metro Manila, and agriculture is also affected in some parts of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And of course, you have to shell out or contribute money to an environmental conservation group, cut down on use of car, participate in carpools, or take public transportation. That's why MMDA is very much concerned to have, strategies of how to eliminate or minimize traffic in EDSA. That's why they are prohibiting single person that operate the vehicle that will travel to EDSA. So there should be carpools. So these the students who participated in the research, or the respondents of the researcher, and majority of the students were below 18 years old, and they belong to private university. So in conclusion about the research, most of the students in the study had expressed strong environmentally supportive views and beliefs. Students signified that the Filipino public needs to be aware of their environment, and they must use their awareness to work for the environment. Students implied that the different problems affecting the Philippine environment can be dealt with by prioritizing the environment. Second, conducting continual measures in raising the awareness of the people. Number three, being responsible citizens and participating and cooperating in existing and future environmental efforts. Students expressed that achieving both a healthy environment and a prosperous economy is possible. It is their strong desire to improve the environment, and factors of gender and favorable environmental attitudes significantly elicit the high levels of expressed environmental concern of the students and their general willingness to take actions in protecting the environment for the present and future generations. And the result of the study that was found based on students' perception about environmental concern. Female gender have higher environmental concern than their male counterpart. Second, Filipinos have favorable attitude toward environment, helping change the emotional reaction toward environmental issues, bring about positive opinion or beliefs. Again, according to the perception of the students, environmental concern is affected by Filipinos' attitude, may encompass affective, behavioral, and cognitive responses and concerns.